Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to talk with you on the topic of your hidden superpowers. I believe that as humans, there are certain abilities that we possess that often are undervalued, underappreciated, or underutilized. One of those abilities is what I refer to as the first of the two hidden superpowers. And that is the power of focus. Our ability to focus our attention in any particular direction, on any particular step, task, goal, etc., is unique in the sense that we have total and complete control over where we direct our attention, where we maintain focus. And so focus is one of those abilities that I have found to be present in every single goal that I have accomplished. Now, I've set many goals, but in the ones that I have actually accomplished, focus was one of the common threads. Which brings me to the topic of how I incorporated focus into a framework of decisions that are intended to help accomplish goals. And I wrote a book about it about a year and a half ago titled The 5 Decisions That Can Transform Your Life Forever. And in that book, there is a framework of 5 decisions. And to give you an idea of where focus fits in, let me just give you a brief overview. The first decision is the decision to take responsibility. The second decision is decide precisely what you want. Third, decide to plan and take action. Fourth, decide to focus. And fifth, decide to let go. Or you can add a D if you prefer, and you can say decide to let God. Now let's talk briefly about what each of those means. First of all, we know that there is no such thing as a fairy godmother that's going to come and make your dreams come true. And so the very first decision, which is take responsibility, basically means that you have to accept and take full responsibility for the outcome of anything that you undertake. Now we all know that there are external forces that are beyond our control, but we also know that only we make decisions, that only we create the life that we want, and that if we don't take responsibility for that, we're basically relinquishing our power to others or forces of nature, events, etc. We're letting life happen to us. We're not taking control and creating the life that we want. Now, so taking responsibility means not blaming others, not blaming situations, not blaming circumstances, but knowing and taking full responsibility for whatever the outcome happens to be. The second decision is decide precisely what you want. And what happens is very often we can all very clearly tell others what it is we don't want. We know exactly what we don't want. The problem is that we have to be able to define and describe precisely what it is that we do want, not what we don't want. And the reason is that if you focus your attention on what you do want, and you can envision it, you can feel it, you can hear it, you can see it, you can smell it in your mind, that the likelihood that you will accomplish and manifest that in your life is much higher. And so let's go on to the third decision, and that is decide to plan and take action. Well, this is logical because after the first one, take responsibility, and the second one, decide precisely what you want, the next step is to decide to plan and take action. This means using a project plan, putting together long-term, short-term goals, whatever it is that you believe is a plan that's feasible for you and the goal or goals that you want to accomplish. The fourth, and before I move on, that you must begin taking steps, not just having the plan, but then taking steps to move you closer to your goals, to accomplishing them. The fourth decision was decide to focus. And what happens is that you might think, well, that's not that hard. Focusing isn't that hard. But of course, we're living a life, right? And so living life means that you have a lot of responsibilities and that a lot of things have the potential of getting in the way or directing your attention away from whatever it is that you want to accomplish. And so being and knowing how to focus and maintain your attention on whatever it is that is a priority to you is important. And so focus, again, means that we are in control of where our attention is directed. But again, we know that life happens and that if I have a crying child over here and I have somebody emailing or calling on this side, or there's chaos, or all of a sudden there's a project due. And so whatever it is that happens in your life, whether it's related to work or family or anything that you may undertake, there's the potential that and not even the potential, but the likelihood and probably certainty that your direction or your focus will be redirected to those things that you have to pay attention to right now. But what is important is knowing how to redirect your attention to whatever it is that you want to accomplish, even if it's temporarily redirected other places because you're needed. Now, there are methods that you can use to maintain focus. And one of those things is that you can begin keeping a journal to hold yourself accountable. How else can you maintain focus? You can join groups of like-minded people. If you're a writer, you can join a writing group, etc. If another thing that you can do is that there are actually mastermind groups of people that may have similar goals or even completely different goals, but they support each other. There are, you can have a mentor. And so in any event, whatever it is, it's not a one-size-fits-all resolution to being able to maintain focus. You know what works for you, and you can, if you don't know, there are ways that you can discover it. And some people, for example, to maintain focus and motivation, will watch and read motivational videos, magazine articles, blog posts, etc. So in any event, whatever it is that works for you is what you need to identify and then utilize that to help you maintain your focus as you move toward achieving your goals. The next and last decision is let go or let God. And basically this translates into have faith. Have faith that you will accomplish the goals that you have set for yourself, the goals that you want to achieve, that you will get there. What this means is that have no doubt. You need to have a certainty. You need to be able to envision it as being completed. You have to be able to maintain that faith in yourself and in the universe that it will provide you with what you need in order to be able to move forward. And so those are the 5 decisions. But of those 5 decisions, the most essential, the most critical is the decision to focus. That's how powerful focus is, because even if you're doing everything else, if you can't maintain your attention in what you're trying to accomplish, highly unlikely that you will be able to accomplish it because or it may take a considerable amount of time. So those are the 5 decisions. Now, and again, going back to the hidden superpower, and it's not so hidden. You can direct, you can control where your focus is at any moment. Now let's go to the second hidden superpower, and that is the power of passion. Now, some people think passion is overrated and that you shouldn't follow your heart in terms of doing whatever you're passionate about because that may or may not lead to success, is their theory. But basically, and let me give you an example. Several years ago, I was leaving a job that I loved in order to stay home with my children. And the day before I left, a colleague came in and she said, if you weren't doing what you're doing, what would you most love to be doing? And without hesitation, I said, I'd be a writer. Now, I had long had a passion for writing. I had discovered it, I think, in my first year of college. But I'd never really thought about pursuing it as a career. I didn't think it was something you could make a living at. And so what happened was I ended up never really pursuing that passion. And it wasn't until my colleague asked me that day that question that I answered, as I said, without hesitation. I said I'd be a writer. Now, for a going away gift, she gave me a book on writing and publishing. And it is by far one of the most important gifts I have ever received. And the reason is that it redirected my path in life. Once I got the gift of rediscovering my passion for writing, I began to do everything in my power to make that goal come true, to accomplish that goal. And so what I did was I began researching everything there was to know about writing and publishing. I joined writers groups. I completed workshops. And again, I read every book that I could get my hands on writing and publishing so that I could educate myself and begin moving in that direction. And that's exactly what I did. And so the passion, now let's talk about, well, how do you know that you're passionate about something? And here is the key. When I began writing, when I was writing anything, whether I was writing a nonfiction book, articles, whether I was writing songs, poetry, I became so enthralled in what I was doing that I completely lost track of time and space. I lost track of where I was. I lost track of what was going on around me. And so that is one of the most telltale signs that you are passionate about something. If you lose track of what's going on around you, you're so engaged in what you're doing that, again, time passes and people are around you and events are occurring, but you're oblivious because you're so engaged. So that's a sign. There are other ways to discover your passion. One could be revisiting childhood dreams, also things that you may have a talent for doing. That it may be more than just an interest or a talent that you may actually, if you begin to focus on that, may be able to develop that talent or interest. And so in any event, the passion aspect of it is also pivotal. So we all have the power. We all have the power to focus. We all have the power to engage in our passion and to be able to discover our passion if we don't know what that is. And of course, it may be more than one thing that we're passionate about. But in any event, I think ultimately the message is that we need to utilize those abilities that we have to not just find our passion, but then to focus our attention if our goals are centered around that passion. And passion propels you. Passion really does. And the reason that I say that is that even though I had been writing initially, it wasn't until I lost a friend to cancer that I was inspired to write my first book. And so there's a difference between aspiring to be or do something and being inspired to do it. And so, anyway, another important factor to keep in mind. So, I hope that you find and are able, that you find and utilize your power to focus, and that if you haven't yet, that you find your passion. And if you have found your passion, that you can live it daily.